Hello, and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine what is the single greatest movie of any given year. And tonight, we finally get back to talking about one single movie. I think it's been about 7 or 8 years since we have done that. But 1984 is in full effect. If you want to know how we got to the 16 movies that are in our 84 bracket, go back to the last 2 episodes and you will see the battle that happened. Now the battle pauses as we think about what truly is the best movie after we watch them, because we need to watch them all. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host for this entire season. I am so excited. Let me remind viewers or listeners that this is a game show that I am the host of, not just a podcast. So my panelists, whoever they may be, I don't even know yet. This is a wacky show. I don't even know who the panelists are yet. They will be awarded with points by me, and the winner at the end of the game, and based on shows that I have hosted before, the winner, they will win 3-2, will be my best friend for the entire rest of the week. I'm looking in the cages now. We have them caged up, and then we release them into the middle gladiator arena. Coming up first, unlocking the gate, it's Mike without a shirt.
Unlock the gate. What is this? What the
That's
who?
that's not trademarked. We can say unlock the gate on a podcast. No,
Yeah,
wait.
okay.
We can say lock the... No. We could say unlock the gate, yeah.
Let's just not mention gates. Unlock the cage.
Oh,
Should
great.
I
Now
put a
we're-
shirt on? My nips are hard.
I can see that. They're poking into my microphone. Is all of this... Is this now called unlock the gate?
Unlock the gate. It's going straight to the top of the chart. And by the charts, I mean the podcast conspiracy wiki. Conspiracy controversy. I am ready. I obviously have cogent thoughts and ready to go toe-to-toe with what I may call derogatorily an ordinary fucking person.
Oh, shit. That is from a movie. I cannot place it right now. Coming in next, it's the one, the only, but there are more of them, but we got one of them. It's Greg.
You got me, and I'm here to fight and battle for the title of 1984 champion, Ryan.
Greg, you're wearing Mike's shirt.
Yeah, I saw him down there, and I was like, do you want to trade shirts? And as soon as he gave me his shirt, I scampered away.
Oh, you ran. You got to run.
Yeah.
Already playing mind games.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think a big guy like me can scamper, but when you see it, people get so bemused by what they see, they just sort of like let you run right on by.
Look at him
Every
go.
morning, Greg wakes up and says, I'm going to bemuse so many people today.
Oh, man. Get ready, world. You're going to be bemused with stops in amused and confused. All aboard!
Okay, I think you just solved a lifelong problem for me. I was going to say nothing bemuses me more than when I hear or read that word and just stare off into the middle distance with a bemused look on my face trying to remember what that word might mean.
Is there such a thing, because I'm also learning too here with Mike, is there such a thing as a bemusement park?
Bemusement park? According to The Simpsons, there is.
Oh, shit. Simpsons did it?
Bemusement park. Simpsons did it.
I'd say at amusement park are most state fairs, like
Yes.
church fairs, anything where you trust tattooed, needle-marked, lost teeth looking gentlemen and ladies to run rickety
Somebody you
mechanical
would
things.
not leave in a room alone with your kids,
And you
you're
go,
like,
yeah,
you know
put
what,
them in the
kiddos, get right
contraption.
on the ride.
I would not leave
Oh,
them
I
in
can
a
smell
room
your
alone with
PBR
themselves.
breath.
Guys, we have a huge show tonight, our first huge show, because it is 1984, quite possibly the greatest movie year of all time, if you know nothing about movies. Our movie was the 23rd seed coming into the bracket. That's a low one. If you remember from a couple weeks ago, right away, right off the bat, it went up against The Muppets Take Manhattan, and we absolutely freaked out.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
I was like, whoa!
But we all cried because we had to move this movie past. It then went up against number 10 seed David Lynch's Dune.
Dude.
Does that seem like a mistake in retrospect?
Nope. Have you seen David Lynch's Dune? There's a lot to like about it, but I don't think that we wish we were talking about that right now.
God damn it. I don't want to talk about that at all. Let's stop right now because your number 23 seed, Mike, is Repo Man. What'd you think of Repo Man?
Knew it was a cult classic. Knew it was like this punk rock LA.
And is that a
weird
knock
movie.
for you going in?
You've met me. No, come on. It's
Mike
one of those
has been in
things
so
where,
many cults.
yeah, I've been in, and I got some of them have been classics, some of them have been new cults.
They don't like when you double up like that. They're like, hey, stay in just one of these cults.
Look, I cult like I date. many at a time. I'm monkey branch cults. I've just learned that. Some are violent, some are not. So it's weird that I didn't watch this, given where I grew up, who I was growing up.
Your music fandom?
Yeah, that's what I part of mean, both where I grew up, Southern California, and who I was growing up, which is a dumb suburban white kid who loved punk rock music. Also kind of a shout out that Emilio Estevez gave out. He's like, we're just dumb suburban kids. How did we get here? It is not a flawless movie, as a 23rd Seed would not be. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I probably will say this is not the last time I watched this in my life.
I don't think you can watch it once. Like,
No.
I've seen it a couple times before this in varying, situations. Rent it and watch it by yourself, and then also it's just one of those. It's a classic mute the TV and put it on at a bar movie.
Oh yeah,
Great bar movie.
And that counts, I think. Every time I was at a bar where it played, I just said, "Oh, I saw Repo Man again."
that's how I've seen Time Bandits.
Greg, what did you think of Repo Man overall?
I was blown away is probably a strong word, but the danger of tonight's show, Ryan, is that we start going into line-o-rama, because this movie has lines. I mean, when you think of the 1984, I guess you're thinking of lines, right? And this movie does a line every scene, including some scene where they literally do lines. But let's get out of here and go do crimes. I mean, like, so many just like of these, and I think it's almost like an earworm. This movie kind of lives with you in a way, and its absurdity and its goofiness belies a very kind of serious commentary on 1984 culture. And it's kind of an exciting movie to start a season off with. Do I think it's going to win? I don't know. Maybe at the end of the show we'll all have been so blown away by it that it will, but it wouldn't have been a good season if we didn't talk about this movie, and I think it's a great way to start this.
Would you say all of our other seasons are bad now because we didn't talk about Repo Man?
I think it would have been confusing in retrospect for some of them if we started with Repo Man, but also it would have been exciting.
I like that we're starting here. One, anytime it's like an Oscar winner or something we've all loved, that's daunting and it's
Out of
impossible
Africa.
to think about. But man, is this 1984 as fuck.
Yeah. Let's dive in fucking feet first into the cold water with 1984, because that sounded like a segue and I should have moved on.
Honestly,
But
yeah, I was like, oh, he's segging the way right now.
I just wanted to keep talking to Mike, so I'll give Mike a point for that. Or like a period piece, right? Like, this isn't based in the 1800s. This is the most 84 thing we could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and I think part of that is like they are changing this movie so much while they're making it that like it's very up to the minute, because they're like arriving that day for shooting and they're being like, all right, several things went wrong. Here's the new pages because we have to write around the fact that we can't find the car.
Oh, and I love you think that it was so professional there was pages.
Yeah.
No, they were just like, go there, say something.
And I have to say, this movie, a lot of there's like the seams show in this movie, and god damn it, it's one of the movies that really gets away with it.
Yeah.
Like, you love this movie because you can feel an amateur aspect to the whole enterprise. I think beneath that is still a lot of like access to celebrities and access to like money and everything. But basically this has a very like, our friends got together and put together a movie, and then it is shot so excellently.
But it doesn't do the thing of like, oh my god, we saw the boom mic operator in the background.
No.
Isn't that part of the jokes? Like, it's still fairly professional.
Honestly, we'll probably get into this, but that's because they hired like a for real cinematographer who happened to just like be in town to be in 1984's probably movie of the year, to be the cinematographer for Paris, Texas. So like
that's wild.
That is wild. That is wild. And it's why you like, I don't know if you notice that the movie is so well shot when you're watching it as just a civilian like me, but if you watch it a couple times, you realize part of what's making this really work is this is a highly professionalized series of shots. And like, this movie really taught me to remember that as a stupid idiot, I always say like, oh, the director's shots were so good. This is 100% the cinematographer coming in and being like, everybody stay the fuck out of my way. I'm going to make your movie look like a movie, and then you can do whatever you want. And that sort of interplay really works.
I think that's such a good attitude when you're making something goofy, is take your goof as seriously as possible.
For sure.
Because then it'll be palatable and it won't feel like you're watching high schoolers make something.
Gentlemen, let's get into it. Throughout the course of tonight, I have 3 questions to ask these guys. They will try to earn points. They have no idea what those questions are yet. When I read them, they will. And then they will battle it out to see who is the smartest Repo Man of all time in this room. When we come back, Repo Man. In the early 80s, UCLA film student Alex Cox wanted to move from student films to features. Remaking his student film by the same name, Repo Man would have a budget of $500,000 and be filled with punk rockers. Enter Michael Nesmith, everyone's least favorite Monkee. At the time, Nesmith's pockets were flush with that sweet liquid paper money, so he, along with Universal, decided to turn Repo Man into a real movie. Well, as real as it turned out to be. Repo Man tells the story of Otto, a young punk who has nothing going for him in post-apocalyptic Edge City. The apocalypse here, however, doesn't come after a bomb has dropped or zombies have attacked. This is after the apocalypse created by voting for conservatives. Otto takes a job as a Repo Man and suddenly has a purpose, a mentor, and a girlfriend. Everything would probably end slightly less than fine if it wasn't for a Chevy Malibu barreling towards our characters. The movie, much like all of the movies we're doing this season, comes out as Reagan is finishing his first term and barreling towards his second. This means that the United States had seen what Reagan can do and somehow said, "More, please."
Well,
nobody hates the fact that there's a middle class more than a lower class protecting the upper class. How does Alex Cox tackle the Reagan era and show us off as that pillar on a hill that he brags so much about?
I think of the parents of Otto, who are in it for a very short time, but for me loom very large in the movie because they're these 2 burned out hippies who are still living part of the hippie lifestyle, which is to say blazing all the time
and dressed like wearing sandals instead of shoes.
But they now have traded in that like sort of counterculture aspect for like this like religious devotion. They literally don't look away from the TV ever in the movie. They're sending like all their money to some prosperity gospel douchebag, and like they answer the question of like, how the hell 20 years later are we in the 80s when it's all the same people of the 60s who were like, we are going to change the world. It's all going to be love. It's all going to be about this moment of transcendence. And now we are deep into the presidency of an actor who promises...
The actor?
who promises only unvarnished capitalism and a state that has completely like taken itself away from providing anything to its constituents. It's like the opposite of what that vision was supposed to be.
And a big part of it that feels like very airplane level goofiness is a takedown on Reagan's unvarnished capitalism is it doesn't matter what you're drinking, it's drink. It's drink, it's beer, it's a can of food.
I mean, the can of food is probably the most legendary thing from this movie.
It comes at the perfect time because at that point you're like, haha, beer, but maybe they couldn't afford Budweiser. And then you see drink and you're like, huh. And then when you get can of food, you're like, oh, this is pretty fucking awesome.
Also, it does this thing where the world is... I like that you said it's like a dystopia because it is. This is like the dystopia provided to us by capitalism, right? And I like how the movie will often switch back into like 1950s dialogue to show like how incongruous the idea is that like this 1984 life is kind of harkening back to like the Leave It to Beaver style. And you see that in the relationship with the parents because while he's eating his food brand food, his mom was like, put it on a plate, dear, you'll enjoy it more. And
right.
Like, couldn't enjoy it anymore, Ma. Sure is swell.
But like her mom instinct clicks in for the slightest, shortest second of having to say something mom-like.
Yes.
Put it on a plate.
Make yourself feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, I think that's also this scene is vital. And I think part of it too is not just that the hippies at some point said, "Oh God, this is so tiring. Let's just let commercialism run all over us." But the role that religion played in that, you know, like they went too far, and now religion is going to save us with their rules, and they're gonna like stop free love and all of that stuff. It could have been Twilight Zone on the TV if Alex Cox wanted to like show off a inspiration or something. But the fact that it's an evangelist, I think, is really important.
Yeah, he wanted to take down like Jerry Falwell.
Exactly. I mean,
the
who I
Saddleback
do
Ranch
believe is
guy.
Reagan's partner in all of the crime.
Oh yeah.
And that's emblematic of the same thing, right? Prosperity gospel is taking the message of Jesus, which is don't have anything. Anything you have, give it away right away. That's how you get to the kingdom of God. And prosperity gospel teaches us if you have a lot of money and you are accruing even more money, that's a sign that Jesus loves you, which probably freaks Jesus out. He's probably so upset that this has happened.
And that's what famous for burning temples down when people had too much money.
And that's what happens with the hippie movement as well, right? It changes from free love and basically like a sort of like almost like communist style, like let's give everything to everyone because we all deserve it, to actually, if you're really good, you'll achieve it through the marketplace, and then that's how we'll know that you've been virtuous.
I mean, yeah, like it's survival of the fittest, right? Like it's a meritocracy. So if you get rich, you deserve it, and if you don't, it's because you're a bum.
Yeah, and you haven't done what it takes, and and
that helped out the boomers so much because they were like, well, we got it all because of regulations and government handouts.
Yeah,
and then now that people didn't, grab that, we're better than them, and that's all we want is to feel better than them.
Yeah, and it's always nice to be the people with some money when they roll back all the regulations because you can invest in the businesses that are all now going to boom because they no longer have to make sure that they're not like, I don't know, like that big parts aren't just falling off of planes. Like, and so when you just,
for example,
random,
put that one out of the sky.
Let's get to the Repo Men as well. Their job, the main job, the titular job, is, I would say that they are the best representation of middle class in the movie, but everyone who works for this company is lower class, right?
Degenerate.
Like, yeah, they're not just personality wise, but like they are not living in cookie cutter McMansions.
I mean, there's a part where the Harry Dean Stanton character Bud says, you repossess a $50,000 Porsche, that's $5,000. Like, anytime, no matter what the dollar value is in the time period, if someone is exclaiming that's $5,000, like it's a lot of money, that's not a rich person,
right?
Especially saying that's $50,000. I was like, I want just one boring like. What? How does this work? Where do they send these cars? Like, how do they get their assignments?
That's one interesting thing is that they don't actually talk about the economics of repossession because it's very interesting because it is kind of like gangster capitalism. These vehicles are not owned by people, but they have like loans to have them. And so then when they don't pay back the money on the loans, you send someone to go steal the car from them. So it's quasi-legal because you're actually stealing the car, but you're doing it on behalf of capitalism. You're doing it on behalf of all the money,
which is so interesting. And I guess it's the whole there's no way to not be a part of a system. But the Repo Men, who are the thugs for capitalism that the movie is attacking, are also like the most like
they
pirates.
suffer from it.
They suffer from it, but they also think they're outside of it, and they're like, everybody's fucked up, man. Only we see the truth.
But this is what's so beautiful about the first job that Otto does. Is that he doesn't realize he's being a repo man, and then he says, I'm not a repo man. And then Marlene, giving the money, says, you are already, though. That's how capitalism gets you. It has you before you realize what's going on.
And Marlene should have
part
said,
of the system.
Also, could you clean up that beer you just poured out? Because now you're a repo man, and like that was rude.
And who's going to clean out that beer?
Right.
Yeah. Marlene, that's not her fucking job. She works the money.
They like the finest point of this entire movie, and the movie started with him knowing a Repo Man that Harry Dean Stanton is based on, and just started writing down the crazy shit he said, which I think is always a good way to start a script, is find the craziest person you know and just write stuff down. But
which is literally what Alex Cox did.
Yeah,
to write this script.
And like this Repo Man guy, I wrote his name down, but it's gone now. Is based on a guy that he used to. I don't know if he wanted to be a Repo Man or they would like hang out and drink beers at night. But that is like the essential part. That's a necessary part of the capitalism that Reagan had in mind, is that if they go after each other, they won't notice us. So we have this like upper lower class going after the middle lower class and taking their cars away, and they're all fighting each other. That way we can do whatever the fuck we want.
And that's the danger of like we'll get into what they stand for in a lot of things, but the danger of the UFO society is they are looking around like they all have the They Live sunglasses on, going, all of this is horse shit. Right. None of you know what's actually going on. And that's why they are actually dangerous versus the the used to be hippies who still espouse like they're radicals but are not at all, or the angry punks who are also. I think this, even though there's a lot of punk rock roots in here, I think this movie's also saying, look how stupid punk rock is as a subculture, because it's also not trying to change anything.
You know what I've come to realize? I agree with that, Mike. I've come to realize part of punk, or maybe I'm wrong, part of punk is that punk is stupid. It's this weird Ouroboros thing.
We definitely have to get to that later.
The one thing I want to say about the Repo Man, though, and I think, Ryan, you were getting at this, is the idea that, like, we are both the victims of capitalism and we are the foot soldiers of capitalism. And that's no more clear than in the repo system. That what is so brilliant about the system of capitalism is that it keeps us all fighting against each other while capital just, like, gains more and more power. And I think that sort of like us turning against each other, because at first we think he is one of these pirate type figures, Bud, Harry Dean Stan's character. But the more he talks, he's such a bitch for capital and for products, and he's like he literally fetishizes the commodity of the car.
Yeah,
like in a way that Marx would be like, no, that's taking it a little bit too far. I will not harm a car, or through inaction allow a car to become harmed. And then he talks. He drives past homeless people, and he's like, I wonder how much they owe.
Right.
You know.
Because he points at the homeless people and says that, like, looks down upon them, and then the famous line, ordinary fucking people, he looks at them, and that's what he thinks he's so much better, because he gets it, man. He sees through society.
Because when
not
you
seeing
move,
his own
the first time I saw this movie, I was like, he's right. And recently I was like, you're ordinary as fuck, bro. Like, that's the whole thing that they train you to think is like, but I'm better. And so I'll vote for the people who will eventually get me up to their level.
I mean, we are left so powerless in this system that we have to find some way to accommodate the knowledge of our lack of power. And his is to say, even though I don't actually wield the power of capital, I can believe in the messages of capital, and because of that, I root for it. Like, I'm not on the Lakers, but I cheer for the Lakers, right? And if they do well, I feel like I do well.
We should get capitalism jerseys.
Capitalism. I'm gonna get a little penny.
I would wear that. That'd be hilarious.
That's a conversation starter.
We have to go back to something that Mike brought up earlier, because the generic food is such a big deal. It's so of its time, you know, of this, like, sort of, we're going to force you to bring these groceries up to the grocery line to, like, sort of, so we know who was lower class. But I want to shout out the whoever did the production design or whatever, because if they just had Coke and McDonald's everywhere, we would not have noticed them. Even if they doubled up on it, we probably wouldn't have noticed it, because that's just our real world. But the fact that all of the ads are for this generic stuff, it pops all of the commercialism, all of the fact that we're inundated with ads everywhere, it pops out because, oh, there's more of that generic ad.
And the first few you see are like beer, toilet paper, pasta, but when he goes home to eat the big can of food, or later, like, it's on bottles of, like, hard alcohol.
Yeah,
and just
rye whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shootout scene, they're laying on the ground, so you just see all the shelves, and it's so funny seeing all that label over and over and over again.
Yeah, like the more and more detailed labels of exactly what all this stuff is. And people have pointed out, you know, the 80s were the time of the invention of the store brand.
Mm-hmm.
Store brands kind of, like, mix themselves in a little bit better now than they used to. It used to be like, I don't know, almost like you had to hold up a sign that said "I'm poor" to, like, these things.
But now you're like, I love Good and Gather. Thank you, Target.
Yeah, there is a complete mixing between store brand and non-store brand now, in a way that in the 80s and the 90s, it sounds dumb, but, like, it was very obvious what food was store brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there was, like, a weird mark of shame with that.
Yeah,
if you went up to the thing when you had all those, like, plain boxes of food.
I mean, why would they? I mean, besides, I guess, not being able to hire box designers, why would they make it look like that? And this is all real. Like, this was a real thing that happened. They could not afford to get real brands in the movie, so I think Ralph's or some company said, "Oh, we have all this expired generic food."
I heard it was an Australian grocery store.
But yeah,
company.
the Blue Bar, like, they are as basic as that they were in real life, and then at some point they became where they look like everything else. But yeah, it was definitely a demarcation line of, like, you poor fuck.
And then you notice that at the same time, in the same opening shots of after the car stuff in New Mexico, the opening shots in the store, at the same time that a guy is singing the 7-Up jingle, and it's just like these jingles have become like an
Our
element
music.
of our culture. Not the only culture, but certainly an element.
One of my favorite shows is an insurance commercial.
That's
famously
true.
on this
Mike is on the record saying he loves the progressive.
And it's not just progressive, guys. Liberty Mutual is fast rising in its ranks.
Which one is the one where you're in danger of becoming your parents? Because frankly, I got to give
That's
it to
progressive.
them. I got to give it to them.
That was Mike's opening salvo when he tried to get them in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
We got very offended.
It's not just Flo.
I took
Flo
that
is what a
back.
basic bitch likes. I love Flo, but that's your entry point. But yeah, it's you're becoming your parents. It's legit smart writing.
And you guys, throughout this entire episode, we're going to keep coming up with movies that are either fully or at least partly inspired by Repo Man. And we're talking about Demolition Man right now. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are describing Demolition Man. We have to take a break and not talk about Repo Man, but instead talk about the television of 1984.
Mount Rushmore.
We can't always talk about the films of 1984 here. We have to talk about the small screen, the bronze screen, the tiny box, the antenna on your roof. What was that doing there? It was bringing you the hits of CBS, NBC, ABC, period.
Do you ever drive through a neighborhood and they still have the big ass antenna that somebody must have been so stoked to have in like 1970 and get reception from everything on this? But now it's like such a big structure that they just can't.
There's nothing they can do about it.
Because antennas and fathers have always had a contentious relationship. But if
In this
nowadays
essay, I will.
that'll kill a dad.
Yeah, dude. Modern dads, they can't take that.
Tonight we're going to talk about the Rushmore of 1984 television. Gentlemen, only 4 heads can go on here.
This is daunting. We think of 1984 as a big year for the movies. Shut your mouth. TV is where it's at. I can't believe how much stuff has its origin in 1984 television.
And I'm sure that all 3 of us have listened to our episode of the 1985 season where we talked about television, so we will not be doubling up on that.
Never.
My recall of the 1985 season is crystal clear. I remember that we did it.
Okay, so
And
there,
more.
there can only be 4 heads, and of course, as always, if you hit the nail on the head as far as who I think should definitely be on here, that will be extra bonus points.
Hit the nail on the head. We rarely do this. I never do. Mike does occasionally. Actually, hit the one that you're thinking of.
Oh, you never get it right?
Bonus. No.
Well, you won't tonight, Greg. I promise you that.
I always try to get too cute with it. Just do the simple things, Greg. Simple things are best.
Okay, so while Greg is Stuart Smalling over here, Mike, why don't you give me your first guess?
There were 2 shows battling, and one was always losing. But in 1984, it took down, I think, 25 million people. I don't know how to read the numbers anymore, but it got a 25 score. Dynasty finally became the biggest show, toppling its nemesis off. And this Aaron Spelling, man, that guy owned TV for decades. This Aaron Spelling adult soap opera of the evenings finally won in 1984. You had Crystal and Blake Carrington, the oil
don't
magnate.
get us started on this thing that we recognize.
Oh, God. Nighttime soap operas were wonderful.
Do. Right? Yeah.
Who is your head, Mike?
My head is probably
JR, that's Dallas, idiot.
That's why I would not say that ever. I'm going out of my way to not mention Dallas right now. It would be Blake Carrington, who I believe is played by Forsyth. Is that correct?
William Forsythe, who, of course, we would know him from...
Yeah,
Resident Alien? I don't know. What else is he in?
We would know him, period, is what I was saying.
We would know
him.
We will know him by his ways.
We will know him by the name of the Lord, and may mercy come down upon him. All right, I just want to fill the bank a little bit before I start making decisions. Greg, what do you got?
The bank, you're filling her up. Okay. Wow. There's so much here, and it's hard to know what to go with, Ryan, but I'm going to pick something near and dear to my heart, which is this is not the first season of Cheers. This is the 3rd season of Cheers. It's the first season featuring one Frasier Crane. And I have to say, I love Frasier in the show Frasier. But Frasier Crane in Cheers is simply delightful, and it felt like this was a moment where the show began to go stratospheric. where would comedy be?
Oh shit, he's
It's
going
not-
full Fraser in this.
It's not
speech. Greg, I hate to interrupt, but you are walking back and forth on the pop filter stage, and I do not want you to fall
Ryan,
off.
you're talking and I'm listening.
Get about by scrambled eggs.
They're gone again.
TV royalty, to be sure. But let's keep going. Mike, who do you got?
Look, I know there's certain kinds of individuals we don't like to talk about on the show
he's
here
anymore.
we
doing
go.
This is, you know what? This is brave.
He's going to
This
pudding
is
pop all
brave.
over us.
But the head I would put on is Little Raven Simone.
There we go.
I would not put Doctor in sarcastic quotes William
man.
Cosby up there. Also, it's
It's
John
so
Forsythe, not William Forsythe.
It's so disturbing that he was an OBGYN on that show, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was
That's
telling
so
us.
fucking disturbing. Oh my god.
Raven
He
Simone,
often told Theo, just drug him.
who owned 2 generations, if I'm correct, Mike, with the Cosby Show and That's So Raven. It's the future I can see.
Yes.
All right. While I'm looking up who John Forsythe instead of William Forsythe, who started in Raising Arizona.
We would know John Forsythe as the voice of Charlie in not only the TV show Charlie's Angels, but also Charlie's Angels and Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle.
Okay, so he runs the gamut of Charlie's Angels specific IP.
Yeah, he is the M where he just jumps all the franchises.
All right. I'm going to say to Greg as a little hint, nothing good so far. So, Greg, what do you got?
When we talk about the aesthetic of the 80s, and we always talk about on the show how like the decade starts a little bit later than you might think. It's not like the clock rolls over, it's 1980, January 1980, and the 80s are born, really. And I think when the 80s are born is in 1984 with the 2-hour pilot of Miami Vice. This is not the best TV show of all time, but it changed the world, and it gave us Mike's favorite game, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which would
do
not
love that game.
exist without Miami Vice. And it gave us panelist Taylor's favorite Miami Heat jerseys, those Miami Vice styled Heat jerseys.
It also gave panelist Ryan the best way to wear a blazer with it, which is sleeves pulled up.
Damn, dude. In the 80s, we're trying to sell us on the idea that you could put a sports jacket into any outfit. You know, that you didn't have to just wear it with a suit, although you could, but that you could also just like throw on a T-shirt and some jeans and also wear it that way.
And hey, babes and dudes. You look
Roll
gre-
up the sleeves of it, which is just, that seems like a fucking crime.
You look great, but why don't you throw some pads in those shoulders?
Yeah, dude.
Then let's see what's
Let's
going
they're
get
on.
a
coming back.
structured shoulder going on.
I was in a Nordstrom Rack today, my friends, and shoulder pads are on their way back.
Don't you think Nordstrom Rack should only sell bras?
Yeah.
So who are we doing? Are we doing Don Johnson?
I think Don Johnson. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Don John.
And Greg, I have to put him on the mountain here. You have to get
Damn.
points. What's his name? Do you
Yeah.
remember?
Hell yeah. The character's name?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Miami is Vicicus?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Vicky Miami.
Classic.
It's not bad.
Mike, where are we going?
1984. We've already talked about Reagan's America. We've talked about how the hippies have lost their way, and do you know what they need? Is a young conservative child who's going to show them what old fucks they are, and he's got the way it is, Mom and Dad. It's Alex P. Keaton on the mountain, my friends.
The
for
80s
Family Ties.
The 80s posed the question: if your child is rebellious and you are dirty hippies, isn't rebellion just going to look like conservatism? Yes.
Yes, it is. What we learned from Repo Man is that those dirty hippies would just be attached to the couch
Yeah.
eating food from a food can. But Family Ties had the audacity to say that, no, they would still be like activists at like their children's school and stuff. And their
So
Reagan,
embarrassing.
their tiny Reagan lover would be like fighting against them.
The
I
way
bet
they,
they-
It's actually a pretty good premise.
I bet they were educators. I bet they both worked at a college.
Sure.
That seems like the kind of lib nonsense that they
Or
would
like
be
a sandal
doing.
factory.
in my history, the two hippies who I went to school with their kid from elementary through high school, he was just a guitar playing, surfing. Like, it just made sense.
He was
it
a
wasn't the
surfing
exact
guy?
opposite. He was just a guy. And sometimes would he grab a spear gun and hunt his friends? Yes, he did. But you know,
You're sure this guy
Free
wasn't
love.
a conservative?
I,
I have to say, it's pretty
the most
red-coded.
dangerous game. The way they redid Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and made it a drama, I feel like Family Ties is ripe to do that
Oh,
with.
wow.
A
Wow.
shitty, money-grubbing kid.
But still wears a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
A MAGA hat? How do you say it?
Money's on the table, folks. Does anybody want to come and pick it up? We're not going to use that idea. It's free.
Well,
for
you have to
Family
pay for
Ties,
it.
the S is now
you
a dollar
do have to
sign.
pay Mike for it though, because it was
Yeah.
technically his.
I'm mailing it
his
to myself
idea.
right now.
If it's more serious than Family Ties, should it be Family Bow Ties?
Yes.
Okay. So you
And
have
then
your title
the
and your
southern,
premise.
the southern spinoff is Family Bolo Ties.
Family
That's a
Bolo
good point,
Ties.
because Alex P. Keaton was still kind of likable, but he should have been like Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah.
just a little fucking shit.
But no, he like a phenomenon. He was the Urkel of his generation.
Oh, God, yeah. People love... Well, Michael J. Fox.
Can
so
I
much
buy
personality. That's pretty good.
All right, Greg, what do we got?
The debut of so many things, Ryan. It's so beautiful.
This is a big year.
This was a time where company executives said, what if we could make the whole show a commercial? Why are we cutting away to commercials? The whole thing should be the commercial. That is what makes America great. There is a show like this. It's for kids. It's called Transformers, and it came out in 1984. It's not like the year it came out in Japan, but it's the year it came out in syndication to America. A 30-minute toy commercial that actually had to skirt laws to even be on. That's why at the end of all these shows, they'd be like, hey, don't get sand in your eye. Have a good day. Because that would make the show educational and not just a toy commercial.
And these were all laws that Reagan took away, right? He was like, TV doesn't have to do that anymore.
It's like, well, don't know if we're going to have to do that anymore.
The amount of times that the three of us have said, this is actually surprising to me. I love it. I'm going to put it on the maybe pile for now. But, and are we doing Optimus Prime?
Yeah. I think that's what it has
What,
to
you're
be.
going to put Starscream?
Not Starscream. That's Cobra Commander's voice, everybody. It's not right.
All right, Mike, what do we got?
Do you know what Super 80s is saying? Sure, were we wrong in Korea and Vietnam? Yes, but let's glorify those sweet, sweet whirlybirds of death. Helicopters. It's Airwolf. Let's put the A-team in the skies. It's Airwolf.
Years after MASH ended, Airwolf comes onto the scene.
Airwolf is from 84?
Yeah,
It started
dude.
in 84.
This show was so important to a little Greg.
Do you know why?
My dad would come home from work, and I'd be like, we are watching Airwolf right now. And then we would sit down and watch Airwolf together.
Do you guys remember the theme song?
Airwolf!
Yeah, I think it was Suicide is Painless.
No, it was Fall Out Boy. But Airwolf doesn't get the credit it deserves because Baywatch is seen as like this show that took syndication into the mainstream. But it was actually Airwolf that was canceled by like CBS or whatever network it was on, and then went into syndication paid for it, and it blew up. And there was everyone knows that kid in high school, like that WWE kid that nobody likes. That was just a huge Airwolf fan.
Dude, it's a guy.
Where a helicopter is the main character.
He has his own helicopter, and he like uses it to fight crime.
That's boss. And it debuted on my mom's 20th birthday. I don't know if that matters.
Jesus Christ. That was also my 20th birthday. I'm moving Airwolf right to the thing.
Airwolf.
The helicopter. My vote is the helicopter's on
Yeah,
there.
because
Who
I want to see the
remembers
head of a
names?
helicopter on a mountain.
The body of a mountain.
All right, but, Greg, we have probably one more round. Who did I start with?
I'm getting
Started
housed
with
here.
Mike.
Did you start with Mike?
This is it.
Okay. I don't think this is going to get me any points, but I think it needs to be said on this show. The Little House on the Prairie ended in 1984, and here's the way it ended. It ended in a made-for-TV movie, and a rich railroad tycoon buys up the town, and the townspeople fight it as much as they can, but you can't beat capital. And eventually, he buys the entire town and is going to run a railroad right through it, and all the townspeople gather, distribute dynamite, and blow up and destroy their own town. Hell yeah!
Hell
We
yeah.
must throw ourselves on the gears. You know what? No, not now. But later, I have a little thing I want.
We tell our kids to do that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do it, next generation. We blew it. Sorry, everybody. We really are the new hippies. It is our turn to make the world a better place. We did not. Let's turn to the next generation and say, please.
Well, so we can sit
Find
on
a
our
way to save us. We're sorry.
so we can finally sit on our couch and just watch evangelical
Yes.
preachers go off.
Yes. Whatever
You
we
know,
want to watch.
I know we used to make fun of the 700 Club, but it actually slaps now.
And you know what this generation's version of evangelical preachers
Lily?
are? It's movie podcasters. So we'll be rolling in that dough.
Listen, podcasts want you to send us money, and then you will have the money come back to you. That's
Through-
how it works.
Through
Threefold.
Jesus' eyes.
Threefold. Not sevenfold. We can't do sevenfold yet.
Come
We're
on.
just doing threefold currently. Sorry.
Greg, I know so little
podcasters.
about the show. I'm not sure it exists. Maybe it is some sort of prank on me. Who is the head that you would want on this mountain?
Oh, Michael
Landon.
Yeah, who unfortunately passed too early. Kind of a creepy guy, but still passed too early.
He died from mullet too
Creepiness.
big.
Yeah, he had a mullet too big, and it got caught in one of those laundry ringers on set. And they kept turning the ringer, and they'd be like, "No, don't do that. That's pulling it in more." But then they would just kind of puzzle at it for a while, and then somebody would turn it one more crank, and they're like, "No, that's what we're not doing." Eventually, his whole body was fed through, and he was flattened.
In creating the scariest, dopest mountain of all time, I am going to give that point to Greg, not for Michael Landon. Your 1984 TV Rushmore is Don Johnson, Alex P. Keaton, Airwolf, and Optimus Prime. Come and fuck with this mountain, you bitches. When we come back, more Repo Man.
Airwolf actually had his own mountain. Yeah, his lair was a mountain. That's kind of bad guy coded, but that's okay.
So what of the heads should be just nothing? And you're like, well, what does that do?
And then it opens.
Helicopter flies out.
Airwolf. Oh, it's an Airwolf situation. I should have seen that.
I would say the craziest mountain that we've ever seen. I will give you a hint, guys. My person that would have gotten you bonus points is not a fictional character.
What
Ronald
is
Reagan.
Jeopardy?
Both good. I don't. Greg, shut up. Let's see if Mike can get this from this, okay? Because the age gap, I think, might apply here. You know what I don't like?
So not Jeopardy.
I'm shutting up so hard.
No, I don't know. Is this your Jiminy Glick?
You know what I don't like? How podcasters come on all the time and they talk about stuff they like.
I'm
Greg?
gonna phone a friend into Greg.
Andy Rooney.
Andy
In a
Rooney, the
show?
guy at the end of 60 Minutes. He would just cut to the oldest man ever.
And then he would complain about the way things are nowadays for like 2 minutes.
In some season, I argued for 60 Minutes and argued the clock should be up there. And I guess I fucked up by not saying Andy Rooney.
It's because me and Greg are so old that we hate TikTok, and that reminds us of that. The other one I was going to go for, and you guys mentioned it, but went with Airwolf instead, was Mr. T.
Oh, yeah. I pity both us fools.
Yeah. Pitiable you are. When we come back, let's finally talk about the punks of Repo Man. Along with Penelope Spheeris' Decline series and Suburbia, and Cox's own Sid and Nancy, Repo Man is among the quintessential punk movies. How is punk important here? And how do we think Cox's portrayal of punks played then as opposed to now?
For me, it seems like there is an ethos behind punk that is also behind this movie. Because without the soundtrack, I don't know that I would necessarily 100% think of this as a punk movie, but I will say this. It is about being oppositional. It is about not going with the flow, and it's about your identity being weirdly just this sort of like counter to whatever is the thing at the time. And that suffuses the entire movie. I found this to be way more of a punk movie than what was that one we saw, I think in the 2002 season that was supposed to be it was like the history of punk. But then it kind of felt like the
24-hour party people.
24-hour party people. I felt like this was a movie that engaged more with like the ethos of punk than that did, and it was supposed to be sort of about punk.
Yeah, because that movie's interesting because it's mostly about that one dirtbag and the Manchester scene. So it starts in punk and then gets into like the dance craze.
That's true. Yeah, I guess like the house and stuff.
And yeah, a lot of those bands, I don't know if they would qualify as punk. There was that punk ethos a little bit of like, let's damn the man, but
right. But
and that was one of our complaints about the movie, right? Was that it said that it was a lot more punk than it felt like it really delivered on. This I feel like
punk
the opposite.
is arguing about what's punk.
Yeah, right. And that's what I was going to say earlier. Like, I feel like if there's a way in which this critiques punk as well, isn't that part of punk too? Like the ways in which punk kind of seems phony and stupid in this, I feel like it's like, yeah, that's punk, man. You got to point it at punk as well.
And I think that's why, like Otto, I think Otto's interesting when you learn more about him, both seeing that he comes from suburbia, but he also says it to his friend Kevin, who's like, we're just suburban dudes, man. Like he kind of knows that they are interlopers, I guess, into quote unquote real punk, but it also seems like those punks are angry that he's always like, well, you need a job.
It's interesting. It's his friend. While his friend is dying, He
Yeah.
says, and then he says, well, we're just suburban kids. And then it's interesting. He says something that I think stands for both his actual death and for a theme as well, which is that, well, yeah, but it hurts anyway.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
I thought there was a lot of heart to that comment, honestly, because that is true. Like the suburban kids, it's easy to completely forget about their struggles, whatever they are. But like they are also being crushed under the gears of this thing.
Right.
And they're suffering for it.
But to be, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say that guy Duke is played by Dick Rude.
Dick
which
Rude.
is great, and he is. When I did research, I was like, so he's gonna be from like one of the punk bands? No, he's just an actor. Like he was around in the punk scene and stuff, but he was not in like the Circle Jerks or. The
Well, if your name
Descendants
is
or
Dick
anything.
Rude, we got to bring you into the punk scene. Like,
Of course, I mean
that's
your
a-
grandfather did.
He had such an interesting energy. That whole character did. Like highly sensitive, highly effeminate, and then like seeming to be fighting against that all the time.
I have heard a lot of
Yeah.
people talk about how great his performance was. I think that this movie has some incredible low-budget B-movie performances.
Yes.
I-
Stylized performance.
Stylized. I think that he is
Stylized.
out of his element here.
Dick, you're out of your element. Yeah, but there's some lines that are some of the lines that as Greg you described as earworms. The let's go do some crimes.
Yeah, they're all. Everything he says should be on a shirt that Mike wears.
And then later, like the reprise to "Let's Go Do Some Crimes" is his girlfriend who quickly jumped for Otto for Duke.
Debbie.
She says, "Come on, Duke, let's go do those crimes.
Let's go do
And he-
those crimes.
Those aforementioned crimes.
He goes, "Yeah, let's get sushi and not pay." It just always was so bad. It's good. It was never.
Yeah.
And
He
good.
didn't quite find it. They asked him to do a lot, including like these
Yes.
throwbacks to like 1940s westerns or something, where he's like, I know it's a life of crime that done brought me to this tragic end. And he doesn't always carry them across, but it is the cult. There's something about his performance that is like genuinely bad.
Yes, I'm talking in Oscar terms. Like, I don't know if I would nominate him for an Oscar.
No.
Which is
No.
not a fair thing to say
But
about
it
this
has.
movie.
It has the we used to be UCLA kids, but most of us dropped out. We left one of our friends in so we could still use their shit, and
Yes.
we grabbed
Yeah.
our friend Dick Rude to be in this movie. That is there's that kind of gritty, like not gritty, like friction there. Like it's bad, but it makes you want to watch it and tear him. Like he's not bad in a boring, bland, normal Hollywood
No.
way. He's
And so-
bad in a way that you want to figure him out. Like Greg, how you described him, effeminate but fighting against it. I don't know if Dick Rude put all that thought into that. That makes me more think that Dick Rude was going through that.
Yeah, that's just Dick Rude, baby. One of the things I want to talk about with this is that I think that it is making fun of punks and then also very punk. And I think that what that means is that this movie is clearly made by a punk who is at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And in that crossroads for any true punk, because eventually everybody has to grow up, even though it's the most Peter Pan genre there is that you have to move into your adult life, but keep the punk sensibilities at least a part of it. And what we are watching is Otto going from, and you sort of watch this in the beginning and then throughout the movie, going from the head punk with all of the philosophies to, I've now conquered this. I now need to go get a job where I'm the rookie instead of the Godfather.
And
right?
I will say, part of the trick of the system is that it says to you, no, you can be a hippie capitalist. No,
Right.
you can be a punk capitalist. And the trick is, no, you can't. You really can't do those things. You're just a capitalist. Like, you just remember your punk sensibilities. But he puts on a suit, he goes and he works for the man. And the only way he frees himself of that is to leave the planet.
Yeah.
Like, he only recaptures that side of himself by, like, eschewing all of this terrestrial nonsense.
I think that the part of it, and then we got to this big time in our first season, 1999, but the part of it is to go into middle age or, your 30s and 40s, where now it's boring, under your own terms, and have that trick you into thinking that you're doing it right.
Yeah.
I didn't sell out, son. I bought
Yeah.
in. Shooter McGavin. SLC
I mean,
Punk.
Yeah, honestly, that's the truth, though, is you get to be around, 20 to 25, and you're like, wait, how the fuck am I going to survive? Like, I would love to be able to, like, give the finger to the system and everything, but could I do it from, like, a domicile?
Right.
Like, could I do it? Well,
Can I drive a Saab while
and
doing
then
it?
the next thing you know, you become a killer because you are just another part of this system, and all you have time for is being part of that system.
But are you talking about David Fincher's The Killer?
I'm talking about David Fincher's The Killer, a
Nobody else
trenchant
is.
examination of capitalism.
Shit.
Why I think it's so interesting and is also a critique of punk is because you look around and it's also we find out he's 18. He lied when he said he's 21, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you see his real information. But his friends, let's go do crimes. They're idiots. Like, it's showing there is no good way. It's not like, oh, look how right they are because they are pure in their beliefs. They espouse beliefs, but like most punk scenes, maybe one or two people believed it and other people just were like, well, I like smashing stuff and doing blow.
And also, it feels like punk is over at the time of this movie. And I'm wondering if punk is like kind of a stillbirth scene. Like, was punk sort of at the same time it was created because of its hyper like criticism of everything, including itself? Does punk is it born and does it die at the same time? Because it feels like that whole thing is going on in this movie.
So punk started in 77, right? Post-punk was 78. Like, so already it was like, let's shred it down and start again. It was 78. And so this is the American punk and then specifically like hardcore punk, which springs, from DC, but this is the LA scene with the Circle Jerks and Black Flag. This is them being like, hey, we like that attitude. Fuck all the boy band. This is how we dress kind of shit. We're just wearing jeans and like waffle stompers.
It doesn't have to be an aesthetic.
It's not an aesthetic, which becomes its own aesthetic. But it was faster, harder, more violent, in all the ways.
But I mean,
because it's.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's funny because people are like, when the Ramones came out, they're like, they just play so fast, and that's hilarious. And then you see Black Flag and Circle Jerks going, do they though? Because here's what actual fast music is.
There is something about punk though that makes it like. You have to, if you're going to dedicate your life to it, or even dedicate your music listening to it, you have to ignore the back of your brain that's saying, this is short-lived. Like, you can't, you can do this now, but not forever.
Or that party that's saying, like, wouldn't it be nice if music sounded good? Like, wouldn't that be fun if, like, you could listen to music and at the same time enjoy what you're hearing?
Oh, sorry. Greg only listens to Tchaikovsky, so...
Okay, everybody has a little bit of Tchaikovsky head, okay? But I've been getting more into Bach because I'm trying to expand myself.
Oh, yeah, go spin the Moonlight Sonata real loud.
Wicca, wicca, wicca!
It's, the every punk scene and every punk, like, new generation is like, no, here's the rules. No, here's the rules. What I love about the music of this movie is you have the Circle Jerks and Black Flag not just playing their stuff, but the Circle Jerks are the lounge band, and like they can all Iggy Pop, he's like proto punk, but they can all play. They love surf rock, which you have to actually be able to really play your instrument to play fucking surf rock to get all those noodlies down. And so it's interesting to like that part of it of like, no, if you're good, you're not a real punk hasn't like codified yet in this era. They're like, no, we want to be good, we just don't know how to be yet.
I like how Otto looks at the Circle Jerks playing in that small cantina, and he's like, "I used to like these guys." That's one of the ways in which punk feels like it's dead, but before the movie starts. Another way is the reality that they got Iggy Pop to write the music write the song for this movie because he was so down and out because he like things were not going great for him.
And if Iggy Pop is down and out, that doesn't mean like, like he is at
he was
mansion.
All stringy. He was like way over tanned, okay? He wasn't wearing a shirt. Something was wrong with this guy.
That guy is beef jerky with a face.
That's him on his best day.
Oh,
Ryan.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Do you guys know who is best at getting all those noodlies down?
Who?
Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda 4 in theaters now. Check it out.
Probably the ultimate rock star. Let's give Skadoosh a point.
Let's give Skadoosh a point.
There's a point in this movie where they are moshing. This is in the first 30 minutes, which is one of the, I would say, like, one of the most iconic 30 minutes of all time in that nothing is happening, and then when you finish the movie, you're like, oh, everything is happening. I cannot believe how tight the first 30 minutes are as far as screenwriting goes.
I kind of missed
and how
the first...
loose the 60 minutes after that are.
The first 30 they had written before they started filming it.
Right.
And it's like,
apparently is key.
I would have, like, the first 30 minutes is kind of like down to earth, except for the very beginning is kind of down to earth. And when they start leaving that, it's kind of like, oh, I wish, like, there's a literal point at which, in between two scenes, the movie kind of loses its mind.
Right.
Otto shows up beaten up, and it's not clear why he's beaten up, and the movie never exactly resolves that because it doesn't connect to his beating at the hands of that family earlier. There's a scene in between that and his showing up beaten up, and the movie just kind of goes completely off the rails. I found myself really wanting the part where it was kind of like this slower, sleepier examination of suburbia through this lens. I missed it as the movie went on.
It goes back to what Mike said at the beginning of the episode, which is it's the groundedness that makes it seem so weird.
Yes.
And then it went a little bit. I still love the movie, but a little
Yes.
bit weird for weird's sake in certain parts.
The fact that there's a scene in between him getting beat up and then him showing up, I just assumed, I was like, these college kids, they edited this badly. I didn't even think about.
Well, there's the reality also that in this part of the process of making the movie, the wheels were coming off.
Right.
Like the crew could not stand to be around each other anymore. They had probably overindulged in many, many things.
What?
And they were threatening, like Alex Cox was threatening, but never actually did it, threatening to write Harry Dean Stanton out of the movie completely. Like they were having trouble getting all the money in line. One day of bad weather completely changed the end of the movie. So that it happened to them, and they kind of chronicled it through the movie.
At some point, some dude in a suit drove up and drove the movie away from them because they couldn't pay for it anymore. But Mike, I get what you're saying about the not knowing the missing scene because there is a trope in the 80s. I don't know if we're going to see it again this season, but where a white guy sitting in a room and one black guy comes in and he pops off to the one black guy and then 9 more black guys come in and beat the shit out of him. Like that just happens constantly in movies that have white main characters.
And isn't that a chilling reflection of the types of movies we saw in the 70s? Like it is obviously such a perversion of the idea of in the 70s it was like we are going to bring these black characters into these movies and we're going to make them more a part of what's going on. This movie reimagines most black people as like a threat, like in that scene where they all come in and it's like, yeah, could you imagine if you were in this situation? I do have to say him trying to buckle up his briefcase for 10 minutes before he's leaving when he's like, I'm going to head out now. and he just can't buckle it up. Emilio Estevez, this is one of the better performances I think I've seen him give.
Well, not a ton of competition, but I totally agree. Do you disagree, Mike?
I guess I can't remember. I haven't seen the Ducks
You're
movies
thinking
in
Young
so
Guns.
long. And
You're
Young Guns.
thinking Young Guns, yeah. Or Young Guns 2.
I do think probably is his best. Where this, I kept being like, and we just got Nepo Baby as a term? Because I'm watching this, and I am saying there's one reason this guy was cast.
Look, I'm going to say if he is awful in this movie, it is...
awful pretty.
It works.
Yeah.
But what I sort of lean towards is that he got the movie more than anybody except for the HDS and understood exactly how to deliver these lines, which is this gnarling, spit in your face, post Marlon Brando, The Wild Ones, this is what I'm going to do, and it comes off awful in the best way possible. I think this is an incredible performance.
I kind of do too, and it is. I think if you notice something about him that you don't quite like, Mike, I think that's the performance. I really do. I think he is supposed to be a punk, both in terms of he believes in punk ideology, and it's annoying to hear him do any of it. We don't want to hear him talk about it. We don't want to watch him do it. The performative aspect of pouring that beer on the ground, and then nobody gives a fucking shit at all. They're just like, what's going on here? And he's like, yeah, I did it.
This brings me to my next point. Me and Greg liked Otto's or Emilio's performance. Mike didn't. Me and Greg like Mike. Mike doesn't like Mike.
Uh-oh.
Is that because...
Otto, man.
Mike, are you Otto here?
Sit down. You're ruining it for the rest of us. Different Otto.
I remember in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of attention paid to when someone had one earring.
Yeah.
Does Otto have it in... And it was
is it it's the correct ear? Which ear is what's he saying?
Which there was a thing. That was a real thing, right?
Yes.
You had an ear that made you straight, an ear and he has his in the straight ear.
I don't remember what year it was.
I can't remember which one it's supposed to be, which one it's not supposed to be.
I think it's supposed to be in your left.
That feels like a fucking
left is straight.
fever dream. The idea that it was straight to have one dangly earring in
and
one
that
ear.
gay dudes would wear it in the right ear to let other gay dudes secretly know, even though we all knew this rule. That does not seem like gay culture. Gay culture would keep that under wraps a little bit.
Maybe that was just a clever ruse. Oh, yeah, it's the earring thing. That way nobody is looking at the hankies in the back of everyone's pockets and telling people what you're down for.
It's probably Reagan. It's probably a Reagan bill he passed.
Dude, man, Morning in America, right in the middle of the Reagan administration, Ryan.
Excellent job, you Fucking punk rockers. That's we had nailed down the punk of Repo Man. When we come back, let's talk about the state of the franchise. Welcome to State of the Franchise, where we speak about IP freely. Gentlemen, 1984 was... We talked about this in our opening show. That 1984,
You're fired up. Are you on something for the state of the franchise tonight, Ryan?
What do you think?
You don't seem so old and doddering anymore. Sorry.
We talked about this in our opening shows, where like there were some sequels, but this year gave birth to thousands of franchises. Like everyone started sequelizing every movie from this year.
The franchises got wet.
Yes.
And other franchises just shot off of them.
What the... Are you talking about Ghostbusters or Goonies?
They're talking about Ghostbusters 2.
Goonies.
Shucks.
What we're going to do tonight is I am the stockbroker or the stock reader. You guys are going to buy, sell, or stay. Just neutral. I'm going to pass.
Okay.
If you guys say the right thing, which is what I'm thinking, the word that I'm thinking, then you will get points for that.
All right.
But where are these franchises in 2024?
Okay.
If you were studio execs, you want that IP? You want to make another one? Where are they at right now? And you have to include everything that's happened since 1984. And we're going to start with the biggest movie of the year.
Our year? Oh, 84.
84. That has a movie coming out this year. So this is going to be a hard one.
Sell.
That might be... that.
Sell.
Why don't we do a stockbroker show? We should just talk about stocks.
We use the soundboard more.
Yeah, and not you two. I could just use the soundboard. Eddie Murphy, top of his game. And there was something about this movie where a Detroit policeman
Oh, I was
drove
totally confused.
all the way to the West Coast to be in Beverly Hills. That there were 2 sequels that came out with this. There was a TV show, I believe, like 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Really?
That did not last more than half a season. And now Beverly Hills Cop 4 is coming out this year on Netflix with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was not on the TV show. Where are we at here? Is this a important 2024 franchise?
Sell. This, just like coming to America, I think people will be like, oh, yeah, and nobody will actually watch it or talk about it.
Or The Distinguished Gentleman 2, Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yes.
I have to say, if you are hankering for Beverly Hills Cop, why return? Like, why do the 4th one? Why not just watch one of the first? I'm going to say 2. They got it. They got it in the can.
Yeah, they nailed
1
it.
and 2. Like, yeah, I think you have everything you need there.
Do you know what's interesting is taking a Detroit cop in the 80s
Yes.
from Detroit to
Yes.
Beverly Hills. But at this point, that character has lived in Beverly Hills for 40 years.
Wait, what
I
if
don't know
he's-
if this is interesting anymore.
Okay, give me 1 second here. What if
to
he
Santa
goes
Monica?
back to Detroit? Detroit on the come up, right? He meets up with 2 ad execs
Yes.
trying to carry along.
Bye,
right? Detroiters Cop. I'll buy that.
They're
I'll buy
going to
that.
make it a cameo appearance in that movie, right?
They
They
better.
have to.
They
They
better.
have to. Detroit's own. I mean,
Legally.
they shot Detroit in a way that said this city is still fucking beautiful. And on top of everything else that show did, I thought that was pretty cool.
I disagree
Another
with them.
Detroit icon is the mother from what's the Airbnb horror movie?
Oh, Barbarian.
Barbarian. She will also show up in Beverly Hills Cop.
So
4.
the Detroiters hired a new copywriter, and it's
Yeah.
the big swinging titty woman from Barbarian.
Big swinging milk mama from Barbarian.
So Mike, final. What are we buying or selling?
Sell.
Greg.
I am a sell on this one. Reboot the Golden Child, and then we're talking.
Jesus Christ, he's made so many bad movies. The other thing too is that like if there was a like Mr. Beast, I don't know. There's the audience for Eddie Murphy won't watch Coming to America,
Yeah.
and the new kids won't
the
watch
block?
Eddie Murphy. So
They have
yeah.
a fucking album coming out this year. I know that's not what we're talking about yet.
I was about to give Mike the point for all of his arguments, but
It's called Still Kids, which is sad because they're like 60.
Oh my God.
gentlemen, we have another 2024 movie coming out. This one in theaters, not on Netflix. It's called Ghostbusters Frozen
Sell.
Empire.
Sell.
Frozen Empire.
Ghostbusters Frozen Embryos.
No.
It's about
Baby Ghostbusters
And they are
fighting off
illegal
abortionists.
they are all full-blown babies, but they are all frozen cells.
I feel like we have a segment on this show that we do every season where we say the top 4 stars / comedic stars.
Yeah.
Those are the Ghostbusters. If that came out this year, which is going to be weird this year.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Ghostbusters.
It
Well,
sure did.
I haven't
It's
thought
clear
about
they
that
should
yet.
listen to us and not who they cast.
Finn Wolf.
Instead,
I-
they changed it to what if a family
Yeah.
instead of like stars, we just had a
Mhm.
family. Finn Wolf, Mike.
Finn Wolf, Mike. I watched like the first 20 minutes of Afterlife and turned it off and went, nah, I'm good. So I'm going to say once again, Cell. No, these new Ghostbusters of this new franchise don't get what made Ghostbusters fun. Was it also had like a zany punk rock vibe to it. Everything was stupid and everything was bullshit. And they treat it like there's a fucking Ghostbusters Bible and everything is holy and sacrosanct.
That's so antithetical of like everything there was. That Ghostbusters movie, love it or hate it, and it's because of this reason. It's a 2-hour SNL skit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's just three guys hanging out that are friends, and then they brought in Ernie Hudson halfway through. I can't wait to do that show. It's such an important movie, but like this is not it, guys.
I have for years said the 2016 Ghostbusters movie is funnier than the 84, and I'm going to rewatch both of them in the same week and to see if I'm full of shit, if I was just being a little bit of Otto and wanting to piss people
No,
off.
if you're saying straight, which is funnier, the remake
2016.
is funnier.
Okay.
There's just no chance.
84 is going to be or Ghostbusters 84 is going
It's
to be a
not
weird show
a
for us.
funny fucking movie. It is like it's there are parts of it that are silly, but it's mostly an action movie, and some of the performances are like anti-humorous performances. Bill Murray's performance in that is like, I don't want you to laugh at any of this shit.
I have an idea, and because I'm the host, I'm the studio exec, so we're implementing this idea, and then you can say buy or sell, and we'll
Okay.
see what happens when you say sell. I think that we have a new Jon Favreau of like, let's bring this specifically comedic IP back to life. I'm gonna sell it to Seth Rogen.
Oh, I
And
love that.
I'm not saying
Oh,
that he's gonna star in it, but I feel like he hit. Oh shit, Seth! Get the fuck out of here! You were not invited.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I really thought that I was making Greg laugh for the first time in my life, and he was just doing
You finally heard his real laugh.
him. But like the way that he got to the core of what he loves specifically about Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
Yes.
and made that movie, and like he's just been doing this a lot with the boys, and he's had some mess ups, but like overall, his production company
Yeah.
been doing good work.
I would buy that version of it.
I
Or the Lego movie dudes.
I have seen the trailer a couple times in the movie theater for the new Ghostbusters.
Frozen Empire.
And it's the most cynical trailer of all time because it's just like, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. And I honestly, Seth Rogen's a good choice because that's not what that new Ninja Turtles movie is like. It's
No.
like, what if it were like this?
Right.
Wouldn't it be cool if it were like this? Shouldn't this part of it be emphasized? Specifically why has nobody ever really drilled down on the fact that they're teens?
Right, so like a little bit postmodern, but not in the like winking
Yes.
Kevin Williamson way. But
Yeah.
like this angle is something that we've never tackled. There was a point. There was a point halfway through the movie where they introduced
Every
12 of my
character.
favorite
Yeah,
toys.
Okay, I can see that part. The part where
They
they,
just
have
dumped Ryan's old toy box into the movie.
like, character rundown. and-
Oh, Mondo Gecko, Swampfoot.
I like your vibe. I like your vibe.
All right, so
It's so crazy that Mondo Gecko couldn't save these new Ghostbusters movies because he's in them too.
I believe that Mondo Gecko should be in all of the franchises I'm mentioning in this segment. But we're on number 2, so let's move on with Ghostbusters. As it stands now with Frozen Empire, Mike, buy or sell or stand?
I would buy your version. I would sell.
Mike.
Greg?
I'm also a sell. I'm tempted
All
to
right,
say
let's
that.
move on to Indiana Jones, which had a movie this year. I think that we're about to talk about what was the worst Indiana Jones movie
Yes.
until Shia LaBeouf put on the fedora. Dial of Destiny, I saw it in theaters and I loved it.
Yep.
I liked it somewhat. Let's say that.
No, it's good. Yeah, come on, you got Phoebe Fleabag.
Phoebe
Phoebe?
Waller-Bridgers.
Maybe.
Where is this at right now? I think that the youth prove that they don't give a shit.
And let's face it, we love Harrison Ford, but he is dying.
And as we all are, the only way to do it, I think, would be get River Phoenix. No, fuck. Get somebody new.
Damn.
And just start adventures we haven't seen. Like trying to tie it all together doesn't work.
Can't it be Fleabag? Can't she be the new?
Yeah, Fleabag.
I don't think that the reaction to that movie was very good. One, it went way over budget because of COVID and because of stupid decisions. I don't know if it was her
by
fault.
the Trump administration.
I would say give it, because I've now seen him reboot a franchise, though he did the smart thing that we all want, is take something that wasn't
Seth
good,
Rogen.
Seth
make it
Rogen.
good. Give it to Donald Glover, because his work on Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Oh.
which I think based on our texts, we're not all feeling the same, but I fucking loved the show.
Who hates Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I thought you did.
Me?
We could talk offhand.
I
I
haven't seen it. The most interesting thing you can say in a conversation.
Oh, look at you.
But we should let Greg cook on the fact that he hasn't seen it for
I meant
5
to see
minutes.
it, but I didn't. I keep meaning to get around to it. When will I? Who
No,
knows?
I love it because I turned it on as a let's put this on while you're doing work and got no work done. It is spectacular. Indiana Jones, I'm going to... All right, Mike, what do you think?
I'll stay.
Greg?
I'm gonna buy. Either going into temples and getting cool things, like that's just always gonna work.
I can't,
And will never be problematic.
but not until we have a new actor. So I'm going to give that to Mike. It could have been Tom Holland, but then he did Uncharted, which is... That means you've given up
biffed
the
it.
hat.
Going away forever. Uncharted was already a movie. It's just a movie that you played with a controller in your hands.
The next one is... could this work today? A bunch of your favorite comedians, much like Ghostbuster. Maybe we should change this to the Police Academy segment instead of the Ghostbuster segment this season. All become cops, and they start doing cop things in a cop world for laughter and hijinks. Guys, does this play in 2024?
I think you would have to make it really sharp, and it could be funny, but it would have to be like a dark comedy and give it to like Eric Andre. I don't know, like somebody who would be
Darren
chaotic.
Aronofsky?
Yes. Eric Andre and Darren Aronofsky
What?
bring you Police Academy.
What if it was still wackety ass, but they also still just like killed minorities?
They're villains.
Like, what if
Yeah.
instead of moving away from why this movie would be so hard to do, just lean directly into it? So
It's-
they're being goofy and silly, but also they are like being fascists.
And the main characters are those, but it's also the town people who are rising up, like it happened in Atlanta, to fight the Police Academy growing.
Police
Which happened
Academy,
pretty
Cop
recently.
City.
So now I'm
Yes.
thinking Boots Riley?
Yes. He would be perfect for this because I think he could find the silliness in it and then still the edge there.
But
And
Steve
he'd
Gutberg
have
is still
too many
in it, right?
ideas. That's what he does.
Yeah.
But
The only problem with it would be when you make a movie, you have cops on set.
Uh-huh.
So they'd probably...
wait, is this
We're going to kill somebody.
About us?
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let's back off a little bit. The cops are saying they're going to shoot people.
All right. Let's. Okay, Mike. What do you think? Buy, sell, or stay on Police Academy?
sell?
Greg.
Yeah, so... remember how... This basically happened in real time to Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
They just missed the crosshairs. All right. Let's do one more.
Oh, choice of words.
One I want to talk to you guys about. There's so many that are actually vital, and I shouldn't have wasted time on Police Academy. But let's do Star Trek as far as movies go, because we're on this hot streak, you say, of TV shows. But the last
Yeah.
movie was sort of didn't do well in theaters. And we don't have any tracked. So are you buying or selling?
I would buy because the shows are doing so well, and I think the whoever the Broccoli's are for Star Trek, whoever owns the Roddenberry rights, like I think they're getting it that people don't want just these same old characters repackaged. They want different tones and different vibes,
But
and
Picard
other
was a big
characters repackaged. Yeah, I was saying just not the Kirk people repackaged. They want other people
Okay,
repackaged
gotcha.
as well.
People still love Spock. Spock is one of the major parts of Strange New Worlds.
And
The-
so
the-
that's
Man,
absurd.
the series is addicted to huffing its own farts. Like, it cannot step away from the past.
And it's so crazy to make a universe, and you can play with like so many around hundreds and hundreds of years, but then keep going back to fucking Spock.
Here's what I would do. I would for the movie, I would strip it way down and majorly increase your Chris Pine time and see if you can try to return it to more human stakes. All the movies want to get so big and so bombastic that I feel like we lose sight of what matters, which is these people on a ship.
Greg, as a movie executive, you just got fired, and now you're in charge of TV. Like there's no way that's gonna fly in theaters because
we want the
need
big bombast. Yeah, I guess I just went to a movie that was literally like shaking me so hard that I was giggling. So I guess you need to have you don't want to go and like have a art house moment while watching Star Trek.
But what about, okay, can we combine this? Kirk or Chris Pine or whoever looks out the window reflecting, and it's a serious character moment, but they shake the shit out of your seat. You're like, oh, he's reflecting so hard.
Oh, man, he's thinking.
I think that TV is sort of perfect because the diehard fans are there, but the people aren't buying tickets.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what do we think? Buy or sell?
I'll stay.
Stay. Greg?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna,
I don't really know what stay means versus sell.
So. It would just means you're not divesting, so you still could go up. No, I'm gonna say sell because the originals were the most recent movies were so reliant on Chris Pine, and I just feel like they're at the end of that road. I'm selling.
And D&D wasn't as big of a hit as it should have been, and Chris Pine
such a bummer. He was killing it.
I just rewatched it this weekend. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, I'm going to give that to Greg for explaining what stay means. We had so many more. I wanted to talk to you guys about Gremlins. I don't know where that stands right now.
Bye.
And the other one was Terminator, because should they just fucking stop? I feel like
I think it's
after T2, they've tried it every 5 years.
Yeah. There's nothing. They have nothing left to say about any of this. There's a couple of good movies, many bad ones.
Since T2, they haven't invented a new killer robot. That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. Electricity Robot was not cool enough.
Yeah, they already did it in Gremlins 2 with the Electricity Gremlin.
The Electricity Gremlin already handled that. We are done. Well, Ryan, I don't know about you, but I think that is enough of all of that. If you don't mind, we'll go to a quick break, and then I'll turn the reins right back over to you.
Like any rookie who takes a job working with veterans, Otto's days are mostly filled with the old dudes. Bud, Miller, Ollie, Light, Heine, Stella, Corona, Sierra Nevada, and Michelob Ultra spouting off about their life experiences and philosophies. Which old man sums up the movie the best? And why does Miller get to be the one to leave with Otto? Did I give away the answer to that question?
I think Miller is interesting because he works with the Repo Men, but he is outside, like he's their mechanic, I think.
But why? Why doesn't he work with them?
He doesn't know how to drive, because the more you drive, the less intelligent you are.
Less intelligent you are. Your
best thoughts come at a bus.
He's also like outside the reality of the movie, because he keeps talking about, like, one of the things he says is like there's a lattice work of coincidence on top of everything, which sounds nuts if you are a person in reality, but is actually very true of the reality that he's in, because he exists in a movie, and there is this if you watch there's a way to watch this movie where you can just chart the connections across different things. I don't think it's as fun as just sitting back and enjoying the movie, but like he says, like, there are no coincidences. For instance, if you think of, like, someone says shrimp, if you think of shrimp, someone will say shrimp or shrimp plate, and then a couple scenes later, they go to a restaurant and there's a shrimp plate, and that sort of thing happens over and over and over again, where things like resonate and come back.
And that's Light's philosophy, I think. Sorry, but
is that Light or is that Miller?
That's Miller.
This is Miller, yeah.
Okay.
Miller's the one that's saying that, like, there are no such thing as coincidences, and that there is some reality above and beyond reality, and that we see just the glimmers of that. It's almost like Platonic or something.
But I do agree that, like, having recently watched a much newer movie from this year about how people will come up and say things like, "You're not being funny enough," or "We had to cut that character because he was boring." This movie does such a better job of talking about movies with these philosophies and having the script go with them in such a more subtle way. Like, obviously, the maker of Self-Reliance had seen Repo Man, but not getting, like, how the lattice should exactly fit on top.
And you can do it without talking about it.
Right.
Like,
or
movies do this.
Talk about it without anybody knowing what you're talking about in that moment.
That you're specifically talking about the movie, yeah. And that's just one of the philosophies, right? Because then there's also Light, Light's philosophy, I think, in a way, is just the extreme realist philosophy, like how you exist adjacent to a system or how you exist as a participant in a system, but don't get swallowed by the system. And then Bud's whole thing is, here is how you worship the system. Here is how you like make the system's successes your own, even if that's not reality.
And Bud's thing of, if you are a cog, like we're all cogs, but if you're a cog that forces it forward, you are better than the cogs who don't even realize that they're part of the system.
Right, which he thinks is really cool about himself, not knowing that he is making capitalism happen.
Yeah.
Knowing about the real world stuff that Harry Dean Stanton and Alex Cox started to get on each other's nerves is pushed Bud out and Light moved up. And so I liked that then now Otto has 3 kind of mentors.
Right.
And I like that without Light being there, I do think it's not as interesting. Because he seems to be moving the most towards Bud. He like looks bemusedly, a word I've always known, towards Miller, even though he's the one person who likes to hang out with him without being a dick to him. But Bud he's kind of like on the hook for, and Light scares him because I think Light, that realism of like one of my favorite moments in the movie is where they're shooting, they get shot at, he's on a run with Light, and he goes like, you can't just shoot into people's windows, what if you shot the guy? And Light's just like, so what if I did? And he goes, I don't know, that's just pretty severe.
Right.
But this is from a little punk.
Because the truth is, Light is just shooting blanks.
Right. That's confidence. His whole thing. It's confidence without backup.
Yeah, that you walk into, because you walk into the place and Bud says blend in. Light says no, look like a scary motherfucker. That way you don't have to throw any punches because they're already fucking afraid. Have the gun, but don't put bullets in it because you don't want to fucking kill anybody, but you want to look like you will. And
guys like Light are so much more attractive because it's confidence without anything behind it, whereas Miller looks like a dork and seems like a weirdo.
Also,
so that stops you from listening.
He's Cassandra, right? He sees through all the bullshit, and so nobody wants to like him.
Right. I don't want to hear the truth. Right. I just want all the different philosophies so I can keep pretending.
And he's the saintly fool. He's the mystic. You know, like he's to actually know the truth is to become cracked because he is in touch with a reality that's higher than the reality of anybody around him. And honestly, most people are trying to find some way to not be in touch with any reality, let alone one that tells us that our own reality is a fabrication and that it can't provide us any like aid or comfort. And so we don't want that truth. We want to exile that truth to the other side of the repo line.
We want the juicy steak and the girl in the red dress.
Yeah, because it is hard to be in contact with the real world. It's even harder to be in contact with the fact that what we consider the real world is a complete fabrication that our brains designed to keep us calm about the fact that, you know, we don't control anything at all and we never will. And so when somebody looks that in the face, it completely ruins them. It completely drives them away from other people, but also ultimately it frees them because that is the truth is that this reality is a comforting prison that we have constructed for ourselves.
Right, and you can see everybody, whether it's booze, which is all over the place, speed, which is heavily involved in one scene, whether it's TV or commercials or televangelist, like everybody's finding that vice, so as to not think about the reality, right?
Light is so good. I just have to say this about Light. He is so good at smoking pot that he relights the smallest roach I've ever seen in my life. And I have to say, as a stoner, like I stood up and applauded because this dude, a lot of people would look at that and say there's no more meat on this bone. And he's like, fuck that. I got this. He is a pro.
Does Light also throw a giant Christmas present or birthday present of money out of the car window?
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene where I think they're together and that he's out of nowhere just grabs one, and then Otto also starts grabbing presents, and it's like, why?
But you know what it is? It's because when they steal that car, it's got presents in it.
Right, and one of them is filled with just
absolute
huge
cash.
Stacks of cash. Yeah. And then they throw it out and somebody runs over it. As he's trying to give his philosophies of, no, you should absolutely live like me. Don't hold that present. And then he throws it out the window.
The idea that you would like try to steal one of these cars in such a way that you allow no harm to come to it. No, we're going to break into the car. We're not going to be wantonly destructive, but that might happen. And we don't love these things. We have to re-procure them.
And then get trophies, right? Like you're cutting off ears in a war. Like you take that Miss Pine off the thing and like you carry that with you.
Isn't it funny how in a movie with what seems like zero product placement, they literally got a sponsorship from that air freshener company?
But I don't know if you guys had grandparents I did, and they all had those motherfuckers. Like those really were in
You find
every
one in
car.
every car.
That is a real company, but nobody knows the name of that
Yeah.
company. That's one of those weird sponsorships. It's like, sure, but also
Yeah.
that's like
We want to sue, but we
You've
can't
sold
then
out
they'll
to
know
Big
the name of our
Freshener.
company. And then there's Ollie. We just need to move on from Ollie. I feel like
who's Ollie?
he's the guy who I believe he's the guy who like just spouts out racist, homophobic shit the whole time.
Oh, he owns the shop.
Oh, is he
I
the
think.
owner?
I think so.
Yeah, because he actually fires Bud at one point. Yeah, he's
Is
the
he
guy.
the one who says lots of straight guys like to watch their friends fuck?
Yes, he is.
Oh yeah, lots of guys like to watch their. Oh my god, you guys, that got in my head really bad. That line fucked me up. But yeah, he's the guy. His whole thing is, I am not one of you plebes because I own this shop.
Man, you're the worst.
Yeah, and it's like, man, like you are the least free of all of us, and you are the worst of us.
The other shitty one, like the pure villain who works with them, is the security guard who used to be a cop, and he drops that he used to work at Attica, which has to be a clear like to Dog Day Afternoon. Like it's like, oh
Prison
no,
Riot.
you're like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Of shit.
Good ref, Mike. That's to a previous episode. I love you plugging that. Real quick, the film features several conversations where characters are not listening to each other and instead speaking about completely different topics, even speaking over each other. The Repo Man, how they hang out, is like everybody could be
podcast.
replaced. It could be a podcast. What is this movie's message about human conversation and connectedness?
Yeah, I think that it is making literal this idea that if you often chart the way people are speaking to each other in a conversation, they are each talking about their own issue and then just waiting for the other person to quiet down, and that there is not actual interplay or back and forth, and that we are creating, even in our relationships, we are creating highly individualized experiences where like I have a version of you that is talking to me right now and you have a version of me that's talking to you right now, but we are actually not co-present in this one conversation.
And I can't let you respond because you might say something weird or what I don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So I have to keep going.
And by listening, what Ryan and I did was not show a normal conversation at all because we let you get your thought out and thought about the things you were saying.
Oh, yeah. What did Greg say? Do you even know?
No. Yes, I'm saying we were doing a good job at being good people
I'm saying we
and
did
not
that
normal
too.
people.
But yeah,
You actually responded, you stupid.
you see it pop up several times. There's one where like they're driving around pretending to be sheriffs. They're about to go fight the guy that they think beat up Otto, and one of the store owner, the repo shop owner, is just telling a joke and nobody is acknowledging him at all, but he won't stop talking. And then there's two guys right at the end, and they're like the two FBI agents, and they both seen the car, so they're kind of like cracked because of that, and they're just like having two different conversations, not even waiting for the other one to stop. They're just talking like with like no pace towards each other, and they're just like both carrying on different conversations.
It's funny that it stands out. Screenwriters who listen to us, I assume you do because you're like, I need to listen to the movie experts. It's such a good tool because you're driving different plot points and character points along without having to be like, yes, and now I will respond to this. That is boring, and nobody actually wants to watch that.
Yeah.
Right, sharper.
Oh, I understand, Mike. Thank you. Greg, would you like to say anything? Like that's how podcasts work, sure, but not movies. The other thing, too, that I think it's doing is demonstrating in not a overt way this sort of toxic masculinity of always trying to think, maybe not toxic, but just masculinity of just always trying to think of the right thing to say instead of like, don't ever be considered less than man, right? And so they're just like spouting out this bullshit to always be considered manly. And if this person is not enamored by your thoughts anymore, then you go find somebody else.
Yeah.
You just need to have somebody enamored by you. And that's why one of the most interesting scenes in the movie is where they talk about one of them says John Wayne is an F word, F slur, and then that's also the scene where somebody says it's not weird to watch your buddies have sex. And that's when a fucking fight breaks out because they're getting a little bit real.
Yeah, too much homosexuality has been covered in that conversation, and so it's time to start throwing punches.
So you just start throwing, you just elbows. Tap the elbow, throw the elbow.
Because so much of masculinity is don't admit even the smallest amount of homosexual thought or innuendo, and often that involves like opening the door to it a little bit just so that everybody can slam it, you know?
Right.
You say, one time I cried a little bit when my mom died, and then everybody starts admitting it, and then you're like, I didn't cry at all when my mom died. You stupid
Now
girl.
I'm going to suplex you.
And I feel like you can see Otto, because he's growing, right? He's 18, like fighting against it. Sometimes he actually sort of is thoughtful, and sometimes he's a total prick and is just telling Layla she should give him a blowjob out of nowhere.
Dude, yeah.
Do we have time to talk about? Nope, we don't have time to talk about how this movie deals with women. Go.
It is time for the speed round where we do have to answer questions much faster, but the points are given out freely. Is the line "lots of straight guys like to watch their buddies fuck" the most horrifying line in the movie?
Yeah, just delivered. It's kind of a non sequitur, honestly. They are talking about homosexuality. They are talking about sexuality, but it kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's like the guy that says it, this is not a guy you want to see you have sex or you want to think about while you're having sex. Very disturbing stuff.
I think that Greg is related too much to this line in the movie, Mike, and I want to do like a check of both of our bedrooms. Is he watching us have sex?
Yeah, he doth protest too much, and I've been thinking that maybe the portraits on my wall, their eyes have been shifting back and forth.
All the portraits' eyes are all Greg. Does Estevez's stardom after this movie make sense? And does Stanton's lack of stardom make sense?
No, I do not understand how Estevez got several franchises after this. I guess, like Gordon from the Mighty Ducks, it makes sense that he was sequestered to a children's franchise.
I mean, his dad's Martin Sheen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how he got this role and how he got many roles after this, I think. Also, he's so pretty. He's a type of pretty that I think we utilized more in movies of the 80s, and I think he really fits that.
Carbon copy, not just Nepo baby, but a carbon copy of his young father.
He looks specifically in Badlands. He looks exactly like I. Do you think this movie is all in conversation with Badlands? Like,
that's a good question, and that movie should have been in this bracket. I wish it was, but we have to wait till previous season.
Because Badlands was 73.
Oh yeah,
wasn't it?
It should have been our last season.
Yeah,
That's
but it was one of those weird ones where it seems to. Yeah.
So when we do that year, but I mean, like for sure, and this movie was supposed to be a road movie.
Yeah.
Where they go across the country doing this stuff, and they just couldn't afford it. But yeah.
So much of this movie is shaped by things they couldn't afford.
The second part, the Harry Dean Stanton, I loved him in Big Love. Like, he's just one of these guys who pops up every once in a while and crushes whatever weird little role, because he doesn't do, even if it's written in a stock way, he is a weirdo and will always bring his Stanton energy to it.
He won't be popping up anymore in any more roles, Mike.
Actually, I'm going to take the reverse Greg thing, and I'm going to say Parastexis will get last place. A thing we've never said before in this season.
That's big and bold.
I've never done Speed. That ship has probably sailed, right?
I got to imagine, right?
For your sake, I hope so. I think so many things have to go horribly wrong for you to start doing
I'm
Speed.
just gonna throw this out there, and maybe it's dumb, and then you guys can judge me for it. But doesn't it seem like you could get so much work done on Speed?
Yeah. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give myself the first point.
It just feels like after 40, you don't start doing Speed. By all means, if you've been doing Speed, continue.
Well, what if we get a truck driving job?
Okay, I could see that. I could just get so much grading done if I were just tweaked. I feel like I could just do like 10 hours of grading.
And as far as I know, you would love it. Like the whole time you'd be la 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 la.
What if we're sick of being a little sleepy all the time?
Oh my God, yes.
And it's cool because you wake up and then you're a little bit sleepy. Do more speed.
Yeah.
Dude,
just do more speed.
There is nothing cooler than waking up from a nap and you are 100 times as tired as you were before you took a nap.
Or somehow worse, where you're like, I'm so tired now I think I might be getting sick.
I will say to everybody who has not done Speed, if you do Speed with Mike for the first time, it is awesome. When you do it the second time, he will say Speed to cruise control every time, and that sucks. As Southern Californians, shouldn't we be spending more time driving in the LA riverbed? And let me just jump out real quick. This is the first time and not the last time. And I think that we are going to spend a ton of time in this riverbed this season.
Oh, yeah. It is a place that exists in reality, but forget reality, because this is where you take your car in a movie, and they act like it's just so normal that you would just be driving down the middle of the riverbed.
Even when a robot's not chasing you in a semi, you're still just driving down that riverbed.
My over-under right now is 5 more movies outside of Repo Man. I think that we will hit this a lot. And yeah, it's because of low budget, and it's like, where the fuck can we go and shoot? And we don't think the cops will get us. Coffee was the last movie I think that we did.
That was in the riverbed?
Yeah. But this year is going to be all about it. What's his girlfriend's deal, and does she have a clear goal?
No. I'm going to jam the point I was trying to get to is I think this movie is like, well, he should have a romantic interest. And then I think the age of the men behind the camera and in front of the camera, they are not doing anything smart or thoughtful or nuanced with her.
I'm going to try to be generous with this next comment and say I think they are trying to give the finger to the idea that there has to be a love story in the movie. But I think the lens through which they did that was really like a quasi kind of abusive relationship between him and Sheila. Like, maybe not all the way to abusive, but he is rude and dismissive and awful to her in every single scene. And it makes so much of what is cool about the rest of the movie seem a little bit dumber because you realize, wait, do you guys think this is cool? Do you think the way he treats her and the way he talks to her is actually cool?
Unless you're watching it as, look at this young kid growing up and he has no idea what he's doing, so he's fucking up all the time. I just don't know if I can give the movie that much credit.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But plot-wise, where I think they're fucking up is she is trying to rescue the scientist, we think, and then she's on the torturing side. Like, I don't know if they know what her deal is or if I blinked at the wrong time.
I think
but
she's
I feel like
supposed
her loyalties shift.
Yeah, well, I think the whole time, I think in the entire movie, she is part of the, like, alien, like, truth brigade. Like, she is part of the people trying to uncover the truth, and that is her number one modus operandi. And so she is so committed to that she would torture people.
But the government agents, Jimmy Buffett and friend, try to kill her.
Because she's not part of the government. She's
but then later she is with them.
Well, they capture her, and then she kind of like adopts to. She kind of begins to work with them. Yeah, I guess it is muddled. Yeah, the whole group of the lady with the metal hand. I didn't always feel like the movie knew what it was doing with that.
They were jammed in there whenever it was important, and I think that like the ultimate signing off on the whole girlfriend thing is when Otto is about to get in the car that's about to fly away, and she's like, "But what about our relationship?" And he's like, "Fuck that!" And that was so clearly played for a response in theaters. Like everyone cheers for that, and that sort of puts you there.
Meanwhile,
how many relationships in little art house theaters ended because of that?
Meanwhile, she is such a cutie. And
she looks like Stevie from Schitt's Creek.
She really does. Like,
oh man, did you see Stevie on Jeopardy?
No.
Oof. No. Don't watch it. Do not watch it. And finally, his name is Otto. Can we assume he loves to get blotto?
Dude, I'm pretty sure this guy loves to get blotto. Except for the long hair, I felt very strongly like Otto from The Simpsons was based at least a part on this guy.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we have to give this movie the awards that the Oscars forgot to. I'm going to assume that the Oscars forgot about this movie when we come back. Gentlemen, this movie tonight, and I'm so happy and proud of it, happy for it, is going to win every award we give out tonight. But before we do that, let's talk about other stuff. Is there anything that you want to recommend to our audience that was inspired by Repo Man or inspired you to remember it? Greg, let's start with you.
Okay. I recommended this before, but it was written in 1984, and it is so germane to this, and I just don't know what I can do other than to recommend it again. My favorite book of all time is Neuromancer by William Gibson. And the way in which punk is constructed in this world, this movie is not quite sci-fi, and it's certainly not cyberpunk, but we see the sort of fundamental elements of cyberpunk here, which is that we are powerless, and that one of the ways we exert our lack of power in a world that has been basically purchased, right? Like the corpos own everything and there's nothing left for us. And as much as we would love to rise against them, instead we are set against each other, and our struggle is one of all against all in a corporatist future. And I really feel like that is brought out in this. So I think for the second time, maybe the third time, I'm going to represent 1984's Neuromancer, which gave basically birth to cyberpunk as a literary genre.
I love the fact that like punk used to be so outlier and weird, and now you have to be, otherwise you're like part of the machine. If you're not, like,
yeah,
this is just how punk is like, no, they're bad people. And back when punk started, it was like they're not. They're
Miller
fine.
says, you ever notice how people love weirdness now? And it's not that people love weirdness, it's that society so clings on to normalcy that the only refuge to find like a little bit for ourselves is perhaps in weirdness, is to try to escape that intense normalcy.
Which is why I think Repo Man had such a cult following, and when it came out, the people saw it fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Is because it felt so different.
I mean, all the boomers that I've ever dealt with, their only thing was like, were we normal? Did we look normal? Did anybody see anything abnormal about us?
I mean, you laugh at me. You all laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh because I'm not sure what you're laughing about, and I think that if we're all laughing at the same time, maybe that'll be a little bit easier for me.
What's the opposite of
I laugh
Rorschach?
because I started laughing 10 feet ago, and I'm walking up to your circle, and I want you guys to accept me.
It's a good move. It's a really good move. It doesn't work, but it's a good move.
Mike, Greg recommended a book. Will you do the same?
Ew. No, I'm going to do The Book for the Eyes, a movie. 2006's Wrist Cutters, A Love Story. Patrick Fugit, Shannon Sossaman, Shea Wiggum.
Wow.
If you're Mike, this has a cast you love. Leslie Piper? What's the chick from Popular's name?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It is a purgatory. Everybody who's killed themselves lives in this gray, washed-out world. Nobody can really smile. They still drink all the time and watch TV. If anybody tries to be happy, the rest of the crew pulls them down. There's weirdness. There's even though, I mean, it's their purgatory, so it's already non-reality, but there's a black hole in Shea Wiggum's car where stuff disappears too. There's other certain things. Oh, Tom Waits is in it. And the level of involvement of musicians. Tom Waits is in it. Will Arnett's in it. Not a musician, but now I'm just remembering.
Leslie Bibb.
Leslie Bibb, thank you. The best friend of the filmmaker is Eugene, the singer from Go-Go Bordello. And so the whole soundtrack is Go-Go Bordello songs.
That's
and Shea
cool.
Wiggum
Is this called
is
Mike
playing
the
a
Mike
character-
movie?
Yeah, dude.
Yes. Shea Wiggum is wearing
Start
like a
wearing
fake mustache, and
purple,
he is
wearing
basically
purple.
in Eugene from Go-Go Bordello cosplay, and his character's name is Eugene. And so it's just like very music-laid, weird, everything sucks, and whatever your world is wants to keep you gray and meaningless, and you're in the system and there's no way out.
Good, Mike. Great job. I'm going to go with something a little bit
Ouch.
obvious.
Fuck you.
No, it was great. You did a good job. But I'm going to do Robert Aldrich's Kiss Me Deadly. I believe the first time where we ever saw a MacGuffin open up and glow onto the characters and be like, what the fuck is in that? And we never find out. So most
that's
famously,
cool.
this is Pulp Fiction, but also clearly Repo Man, and then also Kiss Me Deadly. The other thing, though, that
I've heard it was a light bulb.
Oh, shit. They
there's
just
a
saw
little,
light
there's a
bulb.
little bulb in there.
It's just a light bulb.
The other thing about Kiss Me Deadly, though, is that Mike Hammer, the incredibly named protagonist of this movie,
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
is just a piece of shit loser who can't commit to anything and is just middle fingering everything the whole time, and you have to put up with it. And so the glowing MacGuffin is not the only inspiration from Kiss Me Deadly and Repo Man. You know, like I think that we watch Otto, much like we watch Mike Hammer, go through every type of person in this movie, like
Yeah.
sort of like we watched Elliot Gould through The Long Goodbye go through every clique of person of the time and just be like, no, that's dumb, that's dumb, that's dumb.
Tell me your worldview.
Right, exactly. Wait, hold on, time out, man. Good burn, but could you tell me what you're all about? And they can't, and that is their worldview, is that I can't do it, you know? So, like, I think that this is taking a ton from Kiss Me Deadly. I'm going to go with Greg, because Wrist Cutters was a swing and a miss. Let's go with cringiest moment. Mike, is this a movie with a lot of them?
No, there's surprisingly not. There's a few. Mine was Miller, the mechanic, his monologue and his whole, the more you drive, the less intelligent you are. And that's the most when I went, fuck you, movie. Of just, you get used to characters spouting their life philosophies. His is the one I think the movie believes in the most, and it made me roll my eyes hard.
Huh. I agree. I do think that we didn't even get to like how it ended and the Grease ending of it all.
Yeah.
But
Flying car, glowing car.
and the only two people who are allowed to leave the earth it's been decided it's Miller and Otto. But yeah, okay, Greg, what do you think?
This is not world breaking, not ground shaking. Okay. It's just the way Otto treats Sheila, because it's not even just like one or two scenes. He is so dismissive and awful towards her, and the movie seems aware of all the ways people are bad, and calls them on it, and it seems to actually celebrate the way he treats her like shit. And I hate any ethos that says that like to be a cool young man involves mistreating women. And it's so repulsive to me, and it reminds me of like an Andrew Tate energy or something like that.
Yeah, I just can't get the audience cheering about that fuck that relationship out of my head.
Yeah.
And I love the initial part of the relationship where let's not do the typical 80s montage. Let's fast forward into the backseat and get it on. Great. But then nothing. Let's go with Greg. I'm sorry, Greg, best song of the movie.
Okay. This movie has a lot of songs. Not all of them are for me, but if on top of like the song being great, the musical moment of the Plugs, El Calvo y la Cruz, when he first unwittingly repossesses the first car. The music is just so vibrant. It's got like an LA Mexican sound in a movie full of punk. A lot of people online are like, where can I find more music like this? And the common response was the Plugs didn't even do any more music like this. It's the perfect song for the perfect moment, and it's as hyped as I was at any part in the movie, I think.
And this is the moment that created the modern era of GTA, right? Like you turn on the radio and like whether you turn to talk and it's just like aliens are clearly attacking, or the perfect music for the perfect situation.
The soundtrack for when you drive in the environment.
Right.
If you want more music like this, I would say Mariachi El Bronx. The Bronx is a LA punk band, and then they started covering their own songs mariachi style.
That's so cool.
Mariachi El Bronx.
I'm sorry. Part of me
what a
wants
fucking
to not
baller
like
move.
that, but that's so cool.
I used to love the Bronx in high school, and I can't listen to them really anymore. It's not my vibe anymore, but I fucking love Mariachi El Bronx.
That's a good move. That's awesome.
All right, Mike, instead of backing up Greg's pick, why don't you choose yours?
Coup d'etat by the Circle Jerks, which is the lounge band. And he goes, I used to like this. I went in and I fucking loved it. I'd want to see that version. I think it's a slowed down version of a Circle Jerks song. And all that vibe, like Lounge Lizard plus punk, I was so into all of it. And the song was great.
I'm gonna give that one to Mike for all of the I think that's the first music that we see. Like in the first 30 minutes when they go and do the mosh pit, there's no band, and I don't even know if there's a record player. But yeah, that's
probably a boomed box.
We see music, but just the greatest punk name of all time.
The Circle Jerks.
Come on now.
If you're into this kind of stuff, the Descendants and Circle Jerks in this year, 2024, just came out with a split covering each other's songs.
I'm 58 years old, but we're gonna do a split with a different band with all the members that are 58 years old. That is awesome, Mike. Best musician acting, which is a touchy category that I believe should be an Oscar.
It should be because they keep trying to make it happen.
Lady Gaga.
I'm gonna give it to Lady Gaga. I think Xander Schloss, who plays Kevin, his grocery clerk buddy who shows up in and out, he's stupid and doofy, and I think gets the he felt like a Return of the Living Dead character to me, and I feel like gets the vibe that this movie's going for.
I feel like
he's the bassist from the Circle Jerks.
I feel like the producers of the movie were driving home, and someone said, "Let's get Judge Reinhold," and then somebody else said, "We have Judge Reinhold at home," and this was the Judge Reinhold they had at home.
Greg, we have Judge Reinhold on hold.
Hello, Judge.
I can't believe that guy was part of a punk band.
Yes, I can't either.
Because those pimples are real. Greg, what do you got?
This was hard for me in part because I did not have a ton of recognition, but kind of echoing Mike's from the last one, I thought the Circle Jerks playing a lounge band was a very strong energy, especially when he begins to scat near the end. And if you did not have Otto saying, I used to like these guys, you might not even pay attention to the band, but it directs your attention to them. And they all just, I don't know, they're really bringing a good energy to it. So I went with them.
I think that like if he hadn't pointed them out, I would not have known them, much like the constant generic ads for generic foods. So I'm going to give Greg a point, but Mike, you win that award for it. Kevin, I thought he was a legit actor.
Yeah, same here.
All right. I don't know how well we're going to do. Has anybody seen Sid and Nancy?
Nope.
Okay, so
not in 25 years.
I still feel like that Alex Cox's thumb is all over this movie. So what do you guys think is the director's signature moment? We'll start with Greg.
I read an article that was like an oral history of making this movie, and somebody walked up to Alex Cox and said they were so lucky to get Robbie Mueller to write the report about the president. No, there was a cinematographer named Robbie Mueller or Mueller. I'm not sure exactly how you say it, but they were so lucky to get him for this movie. And somebody walked up to Alex Cox, the director, and said, "You're the director, and you never tell him where to put the camera, and you never change it when he does put the camera somewhere." And he said, "Yeah, you hire someone like him so that you don't have to do stuff like
That's
that."
how you're the best boss.
Honestly, dude, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard a director.
So not a shot from the
say.
movie, but that decision.
Yeah, that decision to just let this guy shoot your movie so that what you have at the end is a professionally shot movie by one of the best in the business, and then you get to be just goofy and stupid the rest of the time. But when the audience watches it, they don't see a non-professional production. They see an extremely professionally shot movie with all these other things that are fun, and we give the movie so much more credit because it is shot like a masterpiece.
Damn, okay. Weird answer, but a great answer. Mike, what do you got for there?
Mine is he uses the smash cut in a very specific. There's a few joke delivery mechanisms in this movie, and one is the smash cut. Speed, huh? Smash cut to them snorting. Want to get a drink? Smash cut to zoomed in a can of drink.
So are you saying Darren Aronofsky watched this as well? Like with his smash cuts of all the vices you could do?
I think so. But this one is funnier. And so, yeah, I'm going to say the speed, huh? Smash cut speed.
That is awesome, and I do feel like that's an Alex Cox thing, but I'm going to give it to Greg.
Yeah, he talked about reading.
I know.
I'm so glad I shared that article with you guys, otherwise I'd feel bad.
It's going to win every time is reading. When we come back, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to announce the winner of tonight, and then also, what do we think Repo Man's future is on the 1984 season of Movie of the Year? Our final award tonight. Pound for pound performance. Who did the best with the amount of screen time that they had, whether they were lead or supporting? Mike, let's start with you.
I kind of hinted at it earlier. I love him in everything I've seen him in, and I think Harry Dean Stanton as Bud does all the things. You can see why an 18-year-old would be like, fuck, this guy is cool. And you can see why an older audience is like, fuck, this is not who you should be looking up to. Look at this fucking moron who's stuck in this like corporate jerk-off mode while he thinks he's punk rock.
I mean, he's obviously great, but like the Oscars are going to add a casting award. So to the caster, too, to be like, this should be HDS for sure.
I feel like they added that category so they can give Allison Jones awards every year. Everybody can be excited.
She needs some flowers.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to learn that this season. And I don't think it's just with Paris, Texas, right? I think he's probably going to show up in half of the movies because he's always
Even
available.
If they don't want him to.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently you can't keep this guy out of somewhere he wants to be.
Greg, what do you think?
That was my first inclination, but honestly, I have to say, I have to go with the guy who won me over through the course of the movie. Cy Richardson as Light. He was just doing a completely different thing than everybody else in this movie, and his was the movie I was most interested in seeing, because he had a way of stripping away all the bullshit of the society without like having that be the only thing that he cared about or the only thing he wanted to do. He seemed to be able to walk in the world and see it as it was without going crazy, he just did his job and he went home to go be Light. And from the moment he walks in the opening scene, and then especially the time that Otto spends with him, are among my favorite parts of the movie. And I think it's because his very naturalistic performance.
That's obviously going to go to Mike, but I do want to point out the guy who played the one-eyed Chevy Malibu alien car driver. I think that he did a really good job of being just exactly on the wavelength of this movie.
Yes.
But Mike takes that down. When we come back, we're going to reveal the winner of this episode and how we think Repo Man is going to do in the future of this season. Gentlemen, I have the winner.
Okay.
Which means I have the loser.
Oh, jeez.
Shit, you always forget that part.
Yeah. I scored 4 points.
Hey,
loser.
That's pretty good for the That's pretty good for the host.
But before we get to that, I do want to talk to you, gentlemen, not about where you think this movie will place, because we're going to get to that in a scant 4 months.
Okay.
What I want you to do instead is think about all the Moodies and the Moody nominations. And can you guys lock down right here for money? Like dualfancashlingo.com is in on this. So this is for betting. Can you guys guarantee a nominee right now?
Yes.
Who?
Oh. I think
I got one.
Music Moment and Shithead.
Ooh, good. I was gonna say.
Wait, no. Give me a musical moment.
We talked about. I think Circle Jerks is the lounge band is gonna stick with us.
We have not seen any 84 movies yet, so this is really hard.
It is
but
hard.
Yes.
you think that's going to be there. Greg, what can you lock in right now?
Duo.
Yeah.
Bud and Otto. On-screen
That's a good
duo.
one.
Yeah, I think anytime you can get time with Luke and Yoda, whatever your movie is, like it's going to count, right? What do we?
Yeah.
Do you remember? What was the Brian De Palma movie? Sisters.
Sisters.
And we just love those two in the van more than
Yeah.
anybody who has
Yeah.
ever seen that movie before.
Yeah, that's a forgotten part of the movie, except for us. It was the center of our understanding of the movie.
Are we suckers for people driving together?
I think it is. Like getting those cars, baby. And that season was about cars a lot.
I'm a sucker for when two people develop that on-screen chemistry where it doesn't even matter that the scene isn't important to the movie.
Right.
You just,
Right.
like, they have it. And people bring that out of each other, and it's just a beautiful thing.
And you know they cut so many expositional scenes that they needed.
Yeah.
Where the characters had no chemistry to
Yeah.
include this random
Yeah.
scene. All right. Mike, I have good news and bad news.
Give me the bad news first.
Somebody lost.
Oh, no.
Give me the good news.
Somebody won. I feel like
Oh.
you knew the good news. Mike, you had 31 points, which I think is low for the show.
That's medium.
Okay,
I
that's
think
medium. I really tried towards the end to give points.
A little boosty.
Greg, you had 29. Mike
Boo.
wins Repo Man.
Close. It's a
Boo.
close game and an honored competitor. Greg, I gotta say I've gone up against a lot of dirtbags and cheats before, and it was a true moment of pride to compete against you.
Greg.
How many points did you lose by?
Greg.
I lost by 2 points.
Yeah, you just got 3 points.
Hey!
What? Why?
A
I don't
winner is
understand.
me, and I will not be gracious. In your face, Mike. I have done it. I have conquered. You strike me as one of these people who probably drives a lot.
I
I do.
I don't know how this movie's going to land. And look, it's not capital I important like so many movies that we're forced to think about because the goddamn Oscars, man, the least punk rock game show there is in town. But to not only do this movie in the season, but start off with this, I think was fucking perfect.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we love saying movies can be so many things, and this is just a reminder that a small group of people can get together and just battle the entropy of creative endeavors and just somehow find a way to bring the fucking boat home and land the fucking plane and drive away in the fucking car.
And it's such a good reminder that even if it is just you and your chud punk friends, it can look good. Do you hear that, Kevin Smith? You have no fucking excuse.
Yeah, you
Now-
just have to get a cinematographer who's flown in from Germany to do one other movie and beg him to do yours for some reason. And then your
Easy.
movie looks great.
If we, for the first time, give out a Moody at the end of the year for best cinematographer, he probably has this on lockdown, right?
Yeah.
We don't know
he's-
what we're talking about. He did 2 of the 16 movies.
We don't
That's
know
why
what
he's on
we're
the block.
talking about.
Yeah. So he's probably got it. So you come pick up your award. You've already won it. Thank you, Mike and Greg, for competing so gentlemanly until the end there. We got a little divisive.
A little heated. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
That's okay. Apologies accepted all around. Next week, we are doing a different 84 movie. We have so many incredible movies coming. Indiana Jones, ever heard about it? Back to the Future. No, Beverly Hills Cop. Back to the Future did not come out. Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Once Upon a Time in in America.
Karate Kid?
The Karate Kid, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, Across the Eighth Dimension.
Hell yeah.
So many 1984 movies.
Probably gonna be in a heat for the weirdest movie combined with this one we did tonight, right? Like,
A lot of cult classics. But until then, keep watching. Okay, welcome to the Parker Cast. This is Daddy. What's your name again?
Isabel.
Isabel. Okay. Isabel, what is your favorite snack today?
Cheetos.
You're a Cheetos person. What kind of Cheetos? Big puffy ones or tiny crunchy ones?
Tiny crunchy ones.
Okay, those are the best. Puffies are kind of gross. Well, that's it for the Parker Cast. Bye, Parker.